Depression. Everyone from time to time feels depressed. It's kind of the common cold of mental health. Sometimes the depression becomes quite serious. In the extreme, it can be incapacitating, you can't get your work done, you could even become suicidal. What are your options when you feel depressed? Today I'll be giving you 3 prescriptions. To understand why these 3 prescriptions work, though, it helps us understand where depression comes from. Here's the lay of the land. It's what I call my hand map. If you put your hand out, you can use your hand or follow along with me. We all tootle down the road of life and from time to time hit a bump. Your wrist represents a problem, an issue, an upset, an argument, something that's been disturbing in your life, a dilemma. From that point forward, there are 5 options. One of them, the thumb route, is a very good option. That's the route toward finding solutions. When you take that route, you circle back to the realm of well-being and tootle along your life until you hit the next bump. You can continue that way, basically living in the realm of well-being. However, if you're not taking the thumb route of finding problem solutions, then you're at risk for taking one of the other 4 routes. You could take fight road, that's the anger route. You could take fold road, that leads to depression. You could take freeze road, like a deer in headlights. That means that you're not going to make efforts to solve the problem. The problem will still hover. Or you could take flee road. That goes to the addictions. Have a drink. Eat too much. Workaholic. Okay, understanding the hand map explains why the 3 prescriptions I'm about to give you work. Prescription number 1, go back and pinpoint the problem. Now that turns out to be hard when you're in a dark cloud of depression. So I'll give you an extra little technique that helps you to pinpoint what the problem was. Once you've pinpointed it, if you've been depressed, depression is a disorder of power. Your serotonin goes down and you feel internally smaller or less powerful, not strong enough, not empowered enough to actually solve the problem. So step number 2 is pump up. Then you're ready for step number 3, prescription number 3, which is problem solve. Those are the 3 P's. Pinpoint, pump up, and problem solve. I'll explain how they work. Let's invite in Yolanda. Yolanda is the name my client from my clinical psychology practice gave. She selected that when she gave permission for me to use her case and share it with you to illustrate these 3 prescriptions. To use the prescriptions most effectively, it helps if you sit down and close your eyes. Please don't be driving. Sit down and close your eyes, Yolanda. Yolanda, with your eyes closed, allow an image to come up on your visual screen of someone or something other than yourself that you could feel angry at, maybe irritated, frustrated, maybe really angry. Notice who's in the scene. Put your self in the scene as well. What bothers you? And notice what you want. If you're doing this exercise on your own, you would ask yourself these questions, or you could have a friend ask the questions to you. Just jot them down. Yolanda said, I see myself in the conference room at my office. I work in a large construction company. About once a week, we have meetings with all the project managers. And I'm a project manager, actually of a very large new apartment building. What's the problem there and what do you want? What I want is to be heard, to be taken seriously. The problem is all the other people at the table are men and they almost outdo themselves, each other, in their ability to ignore me or tell me what's wrong with what I said or respond to me in a deprecating, you dummy kind of voice. I just hate it. We've pinpointed the problem. But let's double check with one more question to make sure this is really the depressogenic, depression-causing moment. Here's the question. As you look at that scene, Yolanda, who seems bigger, the men or you? Yolanda said, oh, I feel like about the size of a 6 or 7-year-old girl, and they look huge. I mean, they are big, like football player type macho guys, but they look even huger than that. When there's a size discrepancy in the visualization, that corresponds to a power discrepancy, and depression is a disorder of power. That means we found the right moment to be problem solving for, but we can't problem solve yet. First, we need prescription number 2. Pump up. To be effective, you have to feel an inner sense of confidence and effectiveness. Yolanda is going to get that by visualizing herself getting stronger. Yolanda, take a deep breath. And then with each successive breath, see yourself getting larger and bigger and stronger and taller. How tall are you now, Yolanda? I'm almost as big as them. Take a few more breaths and get bigger and bigger, Yolanda. Yolanda smiled. My head's about to bump into the ceiling, she said. Perfect. Does that sound right to you? A good size to you? She said, I like this. Now we're ready to move on to prescription number 3. Problem solve. Yolanda, from this larger size, what can you see that you couldn't see when you were feeling small? Because problem solving begins with gathering additional data. Well, she said, I'm seeing now that those big guys actually don't feel so big in size. They feel a little insecure. Maybe it's because I have a master's degree fairly recently that gives me all the latest technological advances in the construction field. So I sometimes make suggestions and they don't even know what I'm talking about. Anything else you notice? I notice that when I offer my perspective, I do it in this little childlike voice. I do it with a question mark in my voice. Oof, no wonder they don't listen to me. With this additional data, we can begin to problem solve. What might be a solution to getting yourself heard and respected in that situation? If I, before I talk, picture myself being big like this, I would be able to speak in a louder voice. If they ignore me, I might say, excuse me, I want to go back to what I said before. If they tell me what's wrong with what I said, I'll say, yes, I agree, that could be a problem. And at the same time, and in that confident big voice, I could repeat my perspective. How do you feel picturing that? I asked. Way better, she said. You know, in the back of my mind, I know I could leave that office. But in fact, it's very close to my home, so it's an easy commute. In addition, I really like the owners of this company. So if I could work this out, that would be my preference. How are you feeling right now, Yolanda? Yolanda said, there's no more dark cloud. It's lifted. And in fact, I can feel the sun and enjoy the brightness of being out in the daylight again. Life is not meant to be an endurance contest. You too can feel better when a dark cloud of depression sinks down over you. Pinpoint the problem, pump up, and problem solve. Enjoy.